Scream has been in our lives for so long that it almost feels stupid to bring up the fact of how revolutionary it was. So much so that most of the trailers just showed Drew Barrymore. The posters absolutely showcased her, and she's only in it for the first 10 minutes. Hi everyone, my name is Kyle. I am counting down my 40 favorite films since the time I was born. If you want a rundown of how that's working and why I'm even doing this, you can go back to the first video here in the series. This is another one of the films that's on my list that I kind of grew into just loving wholeheartedly. As I've mentioned before, it's a little bit squeamish when it came to horror films. I didn't do really well watching them, especially as a teenager. I just got too weirded out by them. I will also say I have this weird thing. I've never looked it up. Maybe there's a word for it. I have a really bad reaction when I see or hear stabbings, which happens a lot in horror films. I have a very visceral reaction. I almost like it's phantom pains. I feel the knife and I don't enjoy it. But for this movie, I'll make an exception. This does the magic trick of both being a satire of current horror film trends while also being a great example of a horror film at that time. It's brilliant. It has a character that basically runs through this is how this always happens. This is how it goes. Isn't it dumb that this happens every single time? And then even though that's mentioned and showcased, we're caught by surprise because it feels like these people are so self-aware of the situation that they're in that they should be catching this before anybody else. Neve Campbell here in the Sidney Prescott role would define this series in my opinion that has now stretched nearly 30 years. I do think that the Scream franchise as it is now is at its best when it's taking a look at current horror trends instead of just being a horror film. But the first one is unmatched in my opinion because it did feel so fresh. It did feel so new. However, I will go to bat for the third film, which most people don't. I actually do enjoy the third film in this franchise. Huge props need to be given to Wes Craven, who started in a grungier horror type of film and then basically reinvented horror 3 separate times. First with the original The Hills Have Eyes, second with A Nightmare on Elm Street, and then finally with Scream. So not a bad batting average when you take a look at his entire career. Anyways, what are your thoughts on Scream? Let me know down in the comments below. Next up, a film I am going to go out on a limb and say most people have probably never heard of.
Never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.